fight, and here we are at the post-debate show with Matrixxx and Shady. I'm Jeffrey Peterson, your host today, along with my brilliant partner in justice, Mr. Shady Grooove. Shady, come on in here on September 30th.
Oh, what an awesome introduction that was, my friend. I welcome everyone, and I would appreciate everybody out there to pay extra attention today because this is some really crazy stuff that we are seeing right now.
Yeah, and we're going to go through a lot of that, Shady. We and the Brilliant Anons have noticed some amazing things. Right now, we're using a different way to connect, and Shady, it's showing us at... a really good connection, so we should be good. I want to let people know too, Shady, did you know that we actually have an exclusive with Roger Stone for all three presidential debates? And what's going to happen is after each debate, Roger Stone is going to post a link, give us a video that we upload to YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere here. On YouTube. So mods, it's in the YouTube channel as well. And this is the Roger Stone analysis. I think he hit it out of the park on this one, Shady.
I really do too. I'd like the audience to see this.
All right, here we go. Let's go. Roger Stone analysis.
Well, if tonight's debate proved anything, it is that the president probably was not wise to listen to his campaign advisors who suggested that he accept the 3-debate program of the Presidential Commission on Debates because it's not appointed by the president, it's not a commission, it's most certainly not about open debate. If it were, the Libertarian and Green Party candidates, who will both be on the ballot in a sufficient number of states to theoretically win the 270 electoral votes necessary to become president, would have been included. Instead, what you got was a format that turned into a 2-to-1 match because essentially Chris Wallace, who used to be a journalist before he joined Fox, ran interference for Crazy Joe. Now, a lot of my friends say that Donald Trump, the president, interrupted other speakers too often, but Wallace interrupted Trump whenever he was about to make a key point far more than Trump interrupted anyone. This was a slugfest. Biden had clearly rehearsed all of his answers, and he'd been taught that when Trump gut punched him to grin and try to laugh it off. It didn't work. Trump got to the essential question of why the Chinese central bank, the communist-controlled bank, would wire $1 billion to Hunter Biden days after Joe and Hunter visited China in Air Force Two. I think overall that this was a clear-cut victory for the president. The president defeated Chris Wallace in the debate, and Joe Biden came in third. This is Roger Stone with the Stone Cold Truth.
I think he nailed it, and I think people need to realize Roger Stone has helped debates with other presidents as well. He's been campaign managers and involved in campaigns, and that's why at the beginning here we see these pictures here. There's Nixon and Kennedy. So pretty amazing analysis. Shady, what's your take?
I would agree with him.
Yeah.
100%. I was, we watched over the course of, however long we've been paying attention to politics, all you guys out there, you've seen multiple different debates and lots of different scenarios. Going back to before Reagan, they were very monotone. They've only been doing these debates for, I think, since Nixon and Kennedy may have been the first ones that they televised. But what we saw last night was pretty remarkable because what Mr. Stone was saying there is absolutely accurate.
Yeah,
we had Chris Wallace interrupt the president of the United States, I think 75 times.
Right.
And so like really, at not only crucial moments, but in a almost like a targeted.
He was like the lifeline. Like picture a lifeguard coming in to save a drowning person in the water. Shady.
Exactly right. And he would do it because Chris Wallace kind of knows the president's rhythm, right? He's been watching him in the rallies. He understands his rhythm. He knows what point he's going to get to ahead of time. He's cutting him off at the pass. He's trying to prevent him from getting to that point instead of giving him his time, which was supposed to be allotted for each of them. And I felt like that, Joe Biden kind of really started to get frustrated a couple of times, and Chris Wallace interrupted him to prevent him from saying something stupid.
That's right. That's right.
Saved him. He was really just, a moderator is supposed to be someone who asks a question, sits back and listens to the answer, tries to keep them from talking over each other. But I felt like Mr. Wallace did very poorly.
I think he owes us a deep, sincere apology. And by the way, did you see the crease in Biden's shirt? They are saying that this is a crease, Shady. So, you're going to a presidential debate and you got a crease in your shirt. I don't think so. What is he fixing here? Let's just watch this. Let's blow this up a little bit. Let's watch this.
There it is.
Oh, that crease just suddenly popped.
Biden's wearing a wire. Why do you need a wire, bro? You got a mic.
Yep. So that's pretty interesting, the wearing a wire, Shady. And what is this, too? If you blow this up, I don't know if I can get a good view of it here. Let me just bring it into another program here so I can really blow it up for you guys. This is the shirt. And if you look at this, it looks like it's coming through the fabric. You can see the fabric. Maybe not a good representation on the screen here, guys, but it looks like a light from a device, like an LED light, Shady.
It kind of really does.
Yeah. And he did have notes, too, by the way. And, there's the microphone. Do you see that right there, guys? And we're going to go through this a little bit more because, the average Democrat, this is what they say about you guys that are Democrats. Look at the average Democrat voter. Look, the average Democrat voter is just plain stupid. They're easy to manipulate. That's the easy part. Hillary Clinton, as told to Dick Morris in Rewriting History, 2005, guys. Now, let's look at this. So you got this wire. You've got Q saying number 3, special communication device, right? And this is the thing here. Now, let's take a look at that in a little bit more depth. Look at this. This is your connectors for microphones, guys. Or is it for a needle connector? Needleless connectors. Is this for his performance enhancing drugs, guys? Holy moly, Shady.
Well, all I know is I didn't see any inconsistencies with the president's attire.
No.
But, the speculation is abound. Also, the idea that his eyes were different colored.
Yeah, and he's blue eyes, right, normally? Or
yeah, looking like he had some sort of weird contact in. And then I was seeing some reports last night that were pretty interesting, talking about things that may be permanent or inside him,
right,
that are connected, where he's actually getting a message through, where he can see. If you can see on the back of these little Google contacts, things can be written for you.
That's right. Let's watch this real quick, Shady. Here we go.
Kind of interesting. They put Biden out there.
Look at right here. Let me make that bigger. I mean, that could be for his performance enhancing drug, Shady, where they shoot him.
Well, that's kind of what I was thinking, because he, if you paid attention, he started to nod. If you go back and watch, you'll see it, because they were showing the side by side on what we were watching on Fox. They kept going back and forth. But
because I want to keep it shut down until after the election.
About an hour and 20 minutes in, Biden really started to sway.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't standing sturdy anymore, and and then all of a sudden he got a little amped up right there at the end. So, really just a kind of out of character performance for Joe Biden last night, I would say, for sure.
And it was interesting how he went down to mumbled. Oh, they're talking about jobs. And oh my God. Interesting.
But he really did get, the president got a couple really good reactions out of him. And I actually went back and watched it again last night after we did the broadcast. And the couple of things that POTUS said that really got him going, and trying to explain about the 3.5 million from Moscow was one of them, because he consistently said, that's a lie, that's a lie, that's a lie. But we have evidence that it happened. Matrixxx, I mean, it's, you can say it's a lie to the American people, but as any one of them wakes up and sees that it wasn't a lie, you're losing a voter.
So Shady, let's just stop real quick. And it's a lie. And what's interesting too, Shady, and we've noticed this. You guys, you are the most red-pilled audience out there, and I'm talking to the choir. But what's really interesting about what we're fighting with this mainstream media narrative, Shady, is that they've actually reported on everything that we've found. Everything that we have found is open sourced,
right? And
it's actually Shady. It's reported by the mainstream fake news.
It's already out there. It isn't hidden,
right? So what's interesting is they act like they've never seen it before. Then they have these fake fact checkers saying, "Oh my gosh, that's fake," but you guys just reported it, like, a couple of years ago or a year ago. The one interesting thing that we all need to, that we've all realized is that they've told us everything. The one thing that they don't understand about with Q, if you will, is that they have basically helped us be a well-informed electorate, guys.
Electorate.
Yeah, we are very well-informed Donald J. Trump supporters. That's really what we are. And what we saw last night, Shady, is, we've got the news online. So last night was basically a snapshot, Shady, of the last 3 years. Trump fighting, Biden grinning and lying, and, Biden, all the Democrats grinning and lying, Wallace representing that fake media, and Trump knew what he was doing, and his family, what he'd have to go through, and he did. He did it anyways, guys, to save our country.
Well, I've never seen a moderator actually stand against the elected president like that. Usually the moderator will, to some degree, substantiate and or back up proven facts in the media. Like, for instance, the president talking about his jobs record, or how the economy was going before the COVID, or the idea that he didn't close down the country. These things that your president actually did that Chris Wallace pretended like didn't happen, in the way that he shut him down and propped up Joe Biden. So it really is you talking to the choir just a little bit, because we're here on the show. But the truth of the matter is, all this stuff that we're talking about is in the public forum, whether it be the Steele dossier that Comey's testifying about now, or the IG report, all these different things that are relevant to what actually happened, not just in the deep state coup, but in the last 47 years of this guy's life in our government. The president's talked about the super predators. Chris Wallace didn't give him any backing up on that. Joe Biden did pass the 93 crime bill. Those things happened. We did incarcerate hundreds of thousands of inner city Black Americans for simple possession for no reason, and giving them more penalties for crack than for cocaine. Those things happened under Joe Biden's watch.
And let's watch this, Shady. That's a great lead, and here we go.
The way you talk about the military.
Squat for that.
Hunter got thrown out of the military. He was thrown out, dishonorably discharged.
That's not true. He wasn't dishonorably.
Cocaine use.
Hunter failing a drug test 1 month after receiving his commission, testing positive for cocaine, and discharged less than honorably.
And he didn't have a job until you became vice president. Once you
None
became
of that
vice president,
is true.
he made a fortune in Ukraine, in China, in Moscow,
That is simply
and various
not
other places.
true.
A corrupt Ukrainian oligarch put Hunter on the board of his gas company, even though he had no experience in Ukraine or in the energy sector. None. Yet he was paid millions to do nothing. And it gets worse. That very same company was being investigated by a Ukrainian prosecutor. Joe Biden, the Vice President of the United States, threatened to withhold aid to Ukraine unless that same prosecutor was fired.
I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired.
In Beijing, Hunter didn't just go sightseeing. He had meetings with his Chinese bank partners. Hunter even arranged for his dad to meet with one of the partners. 10 days later, those Chinese communist bankers approved millions to go to Hunter's firm. And those bankers work for the Chinese Communist Party.
Is why should voters trust you rather than your opponent to deal with the race issues facing this country over the next 4 years? Vice President Biden, you go first.
It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my sons. So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street.
It's about equity and equality.
That video is pretty powerful. Thank you, John. It's our webmaster that put that together, Shady.
And it's and look how easy that is to prove, guys. I mean, you know, that's kind of like the idea, the whole point of the narrative of you know, their position is that there isn't a deep state, there isn't a cooperating media.
That's right.
And we can easily show that that is not the case. This is truthful information. This is the man speaking of his own free will on the floor of the Senate. And the media pretends like it didn't happen whenever he's confronted. But they're supposed to be the fourth estate. They're supposed to hold people to account, and they're not supposed to give equal airtime to the lie as they do the truth. And that is the big difference between what Anon's out there trying to do and the media is trying to do to you.
Yeah, very well said. That's right. I tell you guys, this fact check Biden's lies is pretty damning. Because
I tell you one thing. One thing I really like, Matrixx.
Yeah,
I liked the jailhouse tie.
You like that? The prison tie?
The black and white tie.
That's a Gitmo issue. That's
I loved it.
That's Gitmo.
I was like, oh, I like it.
You know, another thing, Shady, that was very interesting about this. Anon picked this up. Is this? Let's watch this.
Asking you a question.
Here we go. Listen to the words.
Will you tell us how much you paid in federal income taxes in 2016 and 2017?
Millions of dollars.
You paid millions of dollars?
Millions of dollars.
So
yes.
not 750.
Millions of dollars. And you'll get to see it. And you'll get to see it. But let me just tell you, Chris, let me just tell you something.
Mr. President.
Go ahead.
Did you hear what he said? Inshallah. So, inshallah means if Allah wills it, Shady.
Yep.
Let's listen to that again.
You'll get to see it. But let me just tell you. But let me
Why
just
did he say that, guys?
Inshallah.
He's not talking to anyone. He just talked out loud right in the middle. Do it again.
So let's hear it again. Yep.
Get to see it. And you'll get to see it. But let me just tell you.
If Allah wills
Chris, let
it.
me just tell you something.
And so somebody's in his earpiece.
Yep.
Speaking Arabic, folks.
Yep.
Who do we know that speaks Arabic in the intel community?
Well, we know yo Brennan is a big fan.
Yep, we got Brennan. I think Paige, Struck. They all speak it, right?
Yep, Paige, Struck. John Kerry can speak it.
Yep. Look, so let's look at this. This is Q Drop. This is a Q Drop a while ago. Maybe this is what
to travel the world, and as part of that experience, to learn about the goodness and beauty of Islam. As a college student in the 1970s, I spent a summer traveling through Indonesia, taking in the wonderful...
Stop. Somebody says, next July? Are you kidding me, dude? All right, let's watch this again. I'm going to play it for you again.
July?
Yeah.
Get to see it. But let me just tell you.
Inshallah, July. Look at the words. Read it again. Come on, folks.
Get to see it.
No, I don't think
But let me just tell you.
Inshallah. It means if Allah wills it. Not in July. Being that we're in what? September? Oh, come on, man.
July wouldn't be relevant there.
Let's see who talks Muslim.
Full landscape,
There we go.
culture, and
they're fighting for their lives. Inshallah.
people of Java and Bali. Despite my long hair, my earring, and my obvious American appearance, I was welcomed throughout that country in a way that is a reflection of the tremendous warmth of Islamic cultures and societies. Like the president during his childhood years in Jakarta, I came to see Islam not how it is often misrepresented, but for what it is, how it is practiced every day by well over 1 billion Muslims worldwide, a faith of peace and tolerance and great diversity. And if you permit me, or I should say, اسمح لي, بعد إندونيسيا سافرت إلى مصر وهناك درست عربية في جامعة أمريكية في القاهرة وهذا في سنة 1975 و 76 وسافرت إلى الأردن وفلسطين والقدس وتونس وبعد مصر ساكن في الشرق الأوسط تقريبا 6 سنة لكن الآن أنا أجوز. أنا كنت طالب وشباب لما درست عربية لكن الآن نسيت أكثرية اللغة كسلان لسان كسلان. متأسف لكن ممكن إن شاء الله سوف أدرس عربية مرة ثانية إن شاء الله. عفواً.
Inshallah.
And so,
did you hear it, Shady?
Mac is out there and he speaks fluent Farsi and agrees that he is saying Inshallah.
Did you hear this guy say it?
Yep.
Afwan.
Here we go.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Okay. So who's in Biden's ear next July, right?
No, I don't think that's next July, guys.
Chris, let me just say it. But let me just tell you.
Okay. You heard it here first. Now, I don't think he's ever talked about Muslims before, Shady. Let's watch this.
Hadith from the Prophet Muhammad instructs,
thank you, Mac.
whomever among you sees a wrong, let him change it with his hand. If he is not able, then with his tongue. If he is not able, then with his heart.
Did Muhammad mean what Joe Biden apparently thinks he meant? Sahih Muslim 179 goes into a little more detail about what Muhammad means by the hand, the tongue, and the heart. According to Muhammad, if you strive with your hand, you're a believer, a Muslim. If you strive with your tongue, you're a believer, a Muslim. If you strive with your heart, you're a believer, a Muslim. But if you don't at least strive with your heart, if you don't at least hate the rebellion against the Prophet's laws, you have no real faith. You're not a Muslim. Do you know what the Arabic word for strive here is? All the Arabic speakers who are watching right now certainly do. The Arabic word is jahadahum, i.e. wage jihad. Now, when it comes to Muhammad, he's not simply a prophet sent to a particular nation. He's God's final prophet, and he's sent to the entire world. His commands are for everyone. There's a word for the collection of legal commands Muhammad brought. The word is Sharia. So Muhammad brought Sharia, and his followers obeyed his commands. But other people don't obey his commands. What are his followers supposed to do? They're supposed to strive against disobedience and rebellion with the hand or with the tongue, or at the very least, with the heart. Now, there are a couple of possibilities here. Joe Biden's speechwriter might be a total moron who did a Google search for great quotes from the Prophet Muhammad and put this quote into the speech without realizing what the quote is actually about. A more disturbing possibility is that an informed Muslim wrote that speech for Biden and that it was a coded message to other informed Muslims. The message would be something like, this guy will say whatever we tell him to say. To prove it, we'll have him call for jihad against his own country.
Yep.
Wow. Wow. And now let's all remember this, because there are very good Muslims out there who I love and respect. There's a lot of Muslims out there that are, fighting for Obama and taking over this country in the wrong way.
Well, can I speak to that just 100%. A second? So there's a clear difference. And we here in America respect all faiths. We are a very accepting country of any faith that you would like to practice. But what we aren't accepting of is a law that supersedes the Constitution. Sharia law claims to supersede all law of nations. That is a problem. If you're believing that your law is the American law can be ignored so that your law can be implemented, that is not faith. That is treason. Okay? Sorry to say it. Sorry to be powerful about it, but that's what it is. You're subverting the law. In other words, you're doing things that are illegal in your own justification. We have a right as Americans to reject the law and to work to change the law. But we do not have the right as Americans to ignore the law. And this leads into abuse of children, abuse of women, abuse of homosexuals in the family, all of these different aspects that they believe. This is, I'm not trying to be divisive, but I'm just trying to be honest. There's a belief there that you do not have to respect American law enforcement from the Sharia law believing people. And now let's couple that with, quote, defund the police, right? What is the motive here? Be realistic in what you're thinking. We're not 6 months ago, we were seeing a Muslim police force being implemented in New York City, in the Bronx. They're driving around in these vehicles. So what you are seeing is the insurrection. Where it is coming from is the highest levels that are protecting it, trying to prevent anyone from seeing the true Oz behind the curtain. They want you all looking at this other stuff, but it is right there on the surface. They tell us everything, and it's our job to believe them, Matrixx.
Yep, absolutely right. And let's listen to it one more time, guys.
Will you tell us how much you paid in federal income taxes in 2016 and 2017?
Millions of dollars.
You paid millions of dollars?
Millions of dollars.
So
yes.
not 750.
Millions of dollars, and you'll get to see it. And you'll get to see it. But let me just tell you. 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 Chris, let me just tell you something.
I think I proved my point. And then we've got this.
One. سوف أدرس عربية مرة تانية إن شاء الله.
Okay. They are fighting for their lives, guys.
They're struggling for the cover-up to continue. They're struggling to prevent this from coming out in the right amount of time. This isn't about we're not talking about Matrixx. We're not talking about whether or not this stuff is going to come out. We're talking about when do they not want it to come out, and when do we as anons and citizen journalists out there and just people get it out and start talking about it. That's another really great aspect of Q and how he is added to the daily conversation by dropping relevant information to move them to protect this spot. Okay. And then once they're protecting this spot, we're attacking this spot over here.
And let's exactly right. And let's look at Flip Flop Joe. Here we go.
No, we would work it out. We would make sure it's eliminated. I am not banning fracking. No more, no new fracking.
Do we need a national mask mandate?
I think we do. Let's institute a mask mandate nationwide. There's a constitutional issue whether the federal government could issue such a mandate. I don't think constitutionally they could, so I wouldn't issue a mandate. Oh, come on, man. You can't mandate that.
Can we agree that we can redirect some of the funding?
Yes, absolutely. No, I don't support defunding the police. Come on, man. They become the enemy. They're supposed to be protecting these people.
Well, there you have it, folks. We have one clear loser tonight, and that's Joe Biden.
Pretty darn good. Pretty darn good.
No.
So you see, he's, and remember the comments, Shady, that he just lost the left. Remember that?
Yep. And he did.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Maybe not the people that are going to be up there speaking like the AOCs, but the people that are on the ground that think they have a mission and think that they have a plan. He lost all those people last night.
Yes, he did. Wow. And let's look at this, Shady. This is another one. This is another good one. This is a fun one, guys.
Vice President Biden. You are holding much smaller events with
nobody will show up.
People with
nobody shows up to his rallies.
All right. Vice President Biden.
Chris Wallace thought it was funny.
Yeah, because it's true. And here's Donald Trump. Look at what he tweeted. It's Donald Trump versus Biden and Wallace.
They double teamed him, man.
They did. They double teamed him, man. They double teamed him. Let's go through a couple of things here. Look at this. This is Reagan Battalion Telemundo poll. Who won the debate? 66% Trump, 34% Biden.
Can you believe this? This was Telemundo Latin TV poll.
Right here. God bless you.
What does CNN say?
CNN says he's got a 20%. Actually, China report, which is called AKA the Drudge Report.
Right. The China is Drudge Report.
Right.
We got it.
Drudge Report.
Well, one interesting thing right there in that clip where Joe Biden says that.
Look, they even say they're a clown, Shady.
Oh. Who's the clown, Drudge? See, they have to tell us, Matrixx.
Oh my God, that is.
They have to put it front and center. This is we're the clown media.
So this should be changed to China Report.
Yes, China or China Direct, maybe, or
or China debate a circus. Will you shut up, man? Night exposes a nation in decline, Shady.
You expose my crime.
Woodward assassinating the presidency. Worried about worried world reacts. Dangerous weeks ahead. Biden jumps in betting market. Are you kidding me? Come on, man.
Come on, man.
Look at they're even talking about Palantir, Shady.
Palantir, yeah, I saw Palantir. That. I didn't actually read this article, but I saw it was up today.
Yeah, it's going public. Thank you, DARPA. Another CIA front company, folks. So very interesting to go watch who's this guy?
I'm not sure, but I'm sure it's news.
Serena, 24th Grand Slam dream slipped further away.
Oh.
Yeah. When guys get old, they're not as competitive.
Yeah, they start to. I'll leave it there.
I'll leave it there too. All right, look at this poll. Trump gains 5 points on Biden as Biden rates tightens. This is American news from Breitbart, not China owned. Oh, read the pill. Thank you. Accent getting better every day. Thank you. Yeah, this is a good one. Did you see him whip that out, dude? I mean, he was wearing his little #1 Biden thing, dude. Did you guys see that?
I thought we couldn't go to sports events right now.
Ding, ding, ding. Let's look at Brett Bear says who won? I said Chris Wallace definitely lost, Shady. And here we go. Look at that 2 points. So POTUS debate. So we covered this last night. A lot of amazing things. This is the actual what the debate should have looked like.
No, he doesn't have a step.
He doesn't need one. He's that tall. He's tall on the inside, Shady. Did Chris Wallace debate at Real Donald Trump? 94%, 94.6 says yes, and we got a 5.4% says no. But the hunt is on, guys. We even talked about their talking points. We were talking about masks. That's a great mask. If Biden was to wear a mask and wore that one, I would approve.
You would approve that message?
I would approve that message. All right, let's listen to this.
Well, first of all, I guess I'm debating you, not him, but that's okay. I'm not surprised. Let me just tell you something, that there's nothing symbolic. I'm cutting drug prices. I'm going with favored nations, which no president has the courage to do because you're going against big pharma. Drug prices will be coming down 80 or 90%. You could have done it during your 47-year period in government, but you didn't do it. Nobody's done it. So we're cutting health care. All of the things that we've done. Insulin. I give you.
It's not funny, Chris Wallace.
But why would he laugh, Matrixx?
And interrupt.
What, you're interrupting the laugh.
Destroying people.
They keep taking.
I'm getting it for so cheap. It's like water. You want to know the truth? So cheap. Take a look at all of the drugs what we're doing, prescription drug prices. We're going to allow our governors now to go to other countries to buy drugs because they pay just a tiny fraction.
As I say, this is open discussion.
No,
this is big. This is big stuff.
Shady, this is open discussion.
First of all, I guess I'm debating.
Shut up. Too much truth. Oh my God.
I mean, he's literally talking to the seniors in America, and he's telling them he's going to reduce their drug prices 90%, and he's being interrupted.
Yep.
Like he was in the middle of speaking about it, and he's literally interrupting him. That was what I was talking about at the top of the show, about how he's targeting what the president wants to tell the people, and he's stopping him from doing it.
That's right.
And then they make it look like the president is the one fighting and interrupting whenever he's trying to defend his position.
That trick's been played on me before, too.
Yeah, me too.
It's a liberal tactic, folks. It's a liberal tactic.
They can't win the argument. And, the other argument that they can't win now that's really, okay, so this whole narrative that they're running with about his income taxes, right?
Yeah.
That he paid $750. They're using this $750 specifically pointing to this. You know what that is referencing? We found out yesterday what that is referencing. That $750 would be the fee that Donald Trump paid that year to extend his filing time.
Oh my God, Shady.
So it's literally on the form that they're presenting. That is what the $750 is referencing. And he said last night, I paid millions in each year. So they're completely just like, it's like they literally trying to get us to believe that they can read a tax form and then they can't even tell you what category something is really in. All these people pay taxes. Like, what is going on?
Right.
And Chris Wallace defended him again in that position, not letting him explain that he's paid his taxes, for crying out loud.
That's right. Wow, guys, and
gatekeepers, my friend, gatekeepers abound.
It's exactly right, dude. It's exactly right. I mean, we know about their Antifa. We know that they funded them. We know that they're hurting General Flynn because he knows where the bodies are buried and put Iran on notice and knows what isms are. We know
Joe Biden told me Antifa was an idea last night, man.
Yeah.
He said Antifa is just an idea.
That's right.
And the president tried to explain to him the insurrection in our country as they're burning down cities, and he was interrupted again by Chris Wallace.
Wow.
As he tries to tell you that what you guys know out here on this show, you know what Antifa really is. You've read the Q drops, you've done the research, but most of America hasn't. So in that moment, you're convincing millions of people that Antifa is not a threat. The people that haven't seen it on the news. I mean, I have people in my family that literally don't know anything about any rioting.
Yeah.
They don't. It's not in the news. If people wake up in the morning and they just watch the morning fluff news and they don't pay any attention to any other news all day and they work their butts off and then they go home and they try to have a minute of peace and go to bed and get up tomorrow and do it again and see the morning news again, you are not seeing arson on the West Coast. You're not seeing riots in the street of Portland and Minneapolis, and you're not seeing increased homicide rates in Democrat-controlled cities, and you're not seeing lowest gas prices in the last 2.5 decades. Like, they do not talk about these things, and people are in the dark. And that moment was critical for the president to explain to the people that this is what's going on with his taxes. This is what's going on with Medicaid. This is what's going on with pre-existing conditions. This is what is going on with the lowering of drug prices. He said insulin is as cheap as water, but that's not a story today.
No, it's not a story. And the peace in the Middle East, all this stuff, man. Shady.
No, but Joe Biden did get nominated by the British Organization for a Nobel Peace Prize yesterday. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we got to get Biden one. And what did he do? Oh, we don't know.
We have no idea.
He woke up this morning.
Oh, my God, dude. It's so amazing. And
you can't make it up.
You can't. You can't. I mean, it's just, and you know what's sickening, and for us and for you guys out there is we know the truth, Shady.
Yeah, and we're mocked like the way we were mocked when we were in Jacksonville. We were, what you guys saw on the Quibi thing was like nothing. I mean, we literally broke this down to her. We explained to her not necessarily so much about what Q is, but we explained to her what the information is that we have and how it's connected back to China and how it's connected to them railroading the president in this investigation. It's literally like the blinder goes on and she doesn't hear it, and she's restarted right where she started whenever we attempted to explain it to her. There was a lot of information that she got that day that she decided not to tell you.
Right. By the way, Ken Davis, I'm not so sure that's a microphone. That could be intravenous
drug distribution.
Yeah. It could be a mic, or it could be. I just showed you. If you rewind, I showed that picture of what it actually could be with a pretty damn close match. Now, what they don't know also, Shady, is that Biden is under investigation for poisoning that former prosecutor general of Ukraine, Viktor Shokin. Okay,
the one that was investigating him.
That is the same prosecutor. He got fired, or he would hold back the U.S. aid to Ukraine and bragged about it. The quid pro quo. This video is damning. Let's just watch it real quick. Let's see if we can get the. Okay, here we go. Let's make sure it gets on the screen, Shady.
Віктор Миколаївич Шокін не виключає з огляду на ті обставини, які передували всім цим подіям, на перший замах, на другий замах на його життя, на готування замаху до його життя у 2015 році, на те, що це може бути пов'язано, в тому числі і з Джозефом Байденом. Що це за відомості? Це відомості про вчинення Байденом Джозефом, громадянином Сполучених Штатів Америки, у 2015-16 році відносно нього як Генерального прокурора України кримінального правопорушення, передбаченого частиною 2 статті 343 Кримінального кодексу України, а саме вплив на працівника правоохоронного органу.
Assuming that Joe Biden could have been the person who ordered the poisoning of Viktor Shokin, what are the reasons for such intent, guys? Do you think he has reasons?
Інформація була доступна в першу чергу, але не виключно, стосовно розслідування кримінальних справ, пов'язаних з Миколою Злочевським і з Бурізмою. Інтерес до якого абсолютно очевидний у Джозефа Байдена до цих кримінальних проваджень. І до того, що на сьогоднішній день, за інформацією ЗМІ, вони відновлені, ці кримінальні провадження. І з огляду на його принципову позицію ще тоді як генерального прокурора, але і тому, що він же ж насправді то володіє певною інформацією як керівник правоохоронного органу на той час щодо розслідувань, щодо фактичних обставин, то, як на нас, як на мене принаймні, цей інтерес абсолютно очевидний.
So, if Viktor Shokin's life is in danger,
на сьогоднішній день Віктор Миколаївич проходить лікування, його стан, за словами лікаря, є стабільним, його життю нічого не загрожує, разом з тим якісь фізичні навантаження чи психоемоційні йому протипоказані. Рівень отрути, яка була смертельною ще півроку тому назад і призвела до двічі зупинки серця.
Right. So we covered the microphone stuff and the IV stuff, whatever it could be. This is a boom, folks. And we're worried about microphones and IVs, guys. Do you see what this video just said, Shady?
I did. I would like to also maybe just compare it to the reality of what you've watched happen over the period of maybe the last 3 or 4 decades, whereas who's out there poisoning? Who's doing the poisoning? Who's poisoning people in Europe and blaming it on Vladimir Putin? Who's poisoning foreign leaders and they're passing away? Who's poisoning the people that are running against a narrative out there? This is only one group that has really developed and escalated this type of technology, and not many other people have their hands on it. It's the same people that want war all the time.
That's right. And that's why I want you guys to understand that if you keep going with the microphone thing, let's move past it, because that's your family and friends are going to think you're a complete idiot. Just to tell you,
we got to show fact. We need to show facts. We can have our discussions, but you can't just run that narrative against people.
He had a mic. Okay, so he had a mic. Hillary's had a mic since 2008, 2009. I get it. He was fed the questions. He said, inshallah, or whatever it is, dude. I mean, that's the big thing. Let's point to what he said. Let's point to he's under criminal investigation in the Ukraine. He made 33 false or misleading claims, Shady.
$1 billion to Ukraine that he quid pro quo. He admitted to it. And last night in the debate, he said that Trump saying that he did that was a lie. We have it on tape.
So English Patriots said the British poisoned them. But let's be real. X talks to Z, Z talks to Y. They're all in on it together. And Y is China.
Yes. Exactly right. The people running against the narrative. What do you want to call them? You want to call them globalists? Hey, let's do it like this. Let's do it. Let's break it down like this. How come every single banking institution on planet Earth has endorsed Joe Biden?
Yeah.
Not one banking institution on the face of the earth has endorsed Donald Trump. But every single law enforcement office and organization inside America has endorsed Donald Trump. So now we have a nice clear line, don't we? Law enforcement versus banker globalists, guys. The people versus the system. Start seeing the world for what it really is.
Right. Exactly right. I mean, how many pharmaceutical companies that are 95% of our drugs made in Hong Kong voted for Donald Trump or is going for Donald Trump?
None.
None
of the establishment, none of the institutions, none of your universities, none of your think tanks, none of your lobbyists. Just like in 2016, the work that Donald Trump has done over the last 4 years or 3.5 years hasn't convinced any of them to think America first. Now has it? But it sure has convinced me, sure has convinced law enforcement, sure has convinced a lot of people that own boats in Florida and California and Maine and New Hampshire and like the whole, eastern seaboard of people driving around in Trump parades. Man, I've never seen a Clinton parade or a Biden parade or a Bush parade or even an Obama parade, guys.
Yeah.
This is globalism versus sovereignty. It's very, very simple. China or America.
That's right. And we're talking about the FISA corruption, folks. Let's go listen in real quick, see if everything's juicy going on over here. Here we go.
All right. So still, there is a veil of vagueness that is around your recollections and your memory when it comes to these incidences. Do you have any regrets?
My memory's pretty good. I don't tend to remember exact words unless I write them down. I remember the words of my marriage vows, even though it was 1987. I don't remember specific words that were used during that January 5th meeting because I didn't write a memo about it afterwards.
You know, Mr. Comey, I call that selective memory.
What
you
the
choose
hell?
to remember certain things.
You wrote articles.
You choose to be vague about other things. But one of the things that we do know is the American people have been deeply troubled by the fact that the FBI could have conducted themselves in this way, that the DOJ could have been involved in this. They want to trust the institutions of their government. They see someone in you who is very arrogant, who is very dismissive, and is very condescending to the concerns that they have about the structure of government. And the American taxpayer, they're paying the paycheck for every single person that is in that DOJ and that FBI, and they expect their best efforts. And according to Ms. Yates, you did not give those best efforts. You chose to go rogue. I yell back.
Thank you. Mr. Comey, I really appreciate you coming today. You didn't have to do this. You chose to do it, and I want to thank you. Mr. Comey, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, yeah. So I want to thank you for coming, and we'll wrap this up. Is it fair to say that knowing what we know now, Crossfire Hurricane was not done by the book?
No, I don't think that's fair to say.
Okay. That is fair to say. It was not done by the book, right?
No, I'm disagreeing with you. My answer, you asked me at the beginning, I think in the main it was done.
Well, God help us all, my friend, if this is by the book. God help the United States of America if this was done by the book, because it was such an egregious violation of fairness, altering exculpatory information, failing to tell the court the unreliability of information before the court that was outcome determinative of getting a warrant against American citizen. If this is by the book, we need to rewrite the book, and I promise you we will. Thank you very, very much for coming, and thank you. Now, what will we be doing next? This committee will be going down the ladder of who signed the warrant application to get a FISA warrant against Carter Page. We've had Rosenstein, who is the acting attorney general, Sally Yates, who was the acting attorney general for the number 2 at DOJ when she was in charge. Both say, I would not have signed the warrant application if I knew then what I know now regarding Mr. Carter Page. Now we have the FBI director who came into the hearing today and said that 3 times he signed the application against Carter Page, he would not have signed it knowing what he knows now, knowing then what he knows now. So where are we headed? McCabe is next. He was the number 2 at the FBI. What am I worried about to the public? I'm worried that we're going to blame this on some low-level people. Somebody has got to be blamed for withholding exculpatory information from a court that would have saved an American citizen a lot of grief. Somebody's got to be blamed by using a document prepared by a foreign agent on the payroll of the Democratic Party who hired a Russian agent to create a document called the dossier that was full of falsehoods that led to the obtaining of a warrant against a member of the opposition party's campaign team. Somebody has to pay that price, because if they don't, we will keep doing this again. If it can happen to a Republican, it can happen to a Democrat. So what do I see here? Everybody at the top saying, not me. How is it possible that the director of the FBI, in one of the most important cases in the history of the FBI, was not made aware of the fact that the CIA called the dossier the critical document to get a warrant against Carter Page, internet rumor? How is it possible that he did not know that the primary subsource was a single individual suspected by the FBI of being a Russian agent? How is it possible he wasn't informed by people in the FBI after 2 interviews in January and March of the Russian subsource, the Russian agent, that the dossier was bar talk, hearsay, you need to take it with a grain of salt, that none of that made it into the next warrant application in April, none of that made it to the top of the FBI? How is it possible something this important to the country that it's not remotely possible to me that the case falls apart and nobody tells anybody at the top? So to those who found this out, that interviewed the subsource, to those who were made aware that the subsource was a potential Russian agent, they want to hang you with this. If you didn't tell the court, then you're in trouble. If you didn't inform your superiors, you're in trouble, because there's a duty of candor to the court. So those of you who knew that the dossier wasn't reliable, was internet rumor, who had information that the subsource disavowed the reliability of the document, and you didn't tell anybody about it, you need to be fired or you're subject to going to jail. If you did tell somebody, then you've done your job. But here's where we're headed, apparently. In one of the most corrupt investigations in modern history involving the nominee of the Republican Party, where the FBI used a document prepared by a foreign agent, Christopher Steele, who hired a Russian spy to create a document to get a warrant against an American citizen about activities in Russia that were Russian disinformation, at least in part, that we end this whole drama with saying, these things just happen. Nobody at the top really needs to be held accountable other than Well, yes, my fault intellectually. Somebody needs to be fired or go to jail. Mr. Kleinsmith is pleading guilty to altering a document that it was exculpatory.
Here's who signed: McCabe, 389, Rosenstein,
there would be no warrant
Diana
against Carter Page, because all the Russian contacts
271,
could be
Comey,
explained if you
Sally
understood
Yates, knowingly
Mr.
and used
Page
false
had been
intelligence,
working with
knowingly.
the CIA, something the FBI knew and failed to tell the court. He went through hell because of the dossier.
Page 65.
Not one
is
person
Yates.
has been prosecuted for collusion.
We have
with
it all,
Russians
Shady. Do you see what
in
we
the
have?
Trump world.
It's
Why does
incredible
the
what we have.
revelations matter? The director of the FBI was informed by the intelligence community in September
But yet we're worried about
2016
stupid
that there was
Q-posts
a plot being cooked
from the
up
mainstream
by the
media.
Clinton campaign to accuse Trump of being involved with the Russians to distract from her email server problem. And the FBI director doesn't remember that interaction. Here's the question. Do you think if this information involved Trump, they would have done something about it? I've looked in the file. I can't find any evidence they took it serious. Doesn't matter if it's reliable or not. The question is, did the FBI pursue evidence against the Clinton campaign with the same vigor they did the Trump campaign? Can you imagine what the media would be saying today if this revelation were about Trump? Can you imagine how breathless it would be if the FBI just ignored it? Can you imagine how this would be betraying on the newspapers and TV networks of this country if the Republican Party had hired Christopher Steele, who hired a Russian agent, to investigate the Clinton campaign, to get a dossier on Clinton accusing her of horrible things that were all Russian disinformation, hearsay, innuendo. To the American media, you gave Mueller a lot of coverage. I supported the Mueller investigation because I think it was important that we run these allegations down. Where there's accusations about the integrity of our elections, about the role of Russia, we should all be concerned. But now that we know that the Carter Page fiasco was an effort by a political party to create a document to be used against an American citizen weaponizing political research, nobody seems to care. My colleagues talked about everything but the issue before us. I care. I supported legislation protecting Mueller from being fired. Why? Because I cared. I agree with the following. If the Democrats were in charge, we wouldn't be having this hearing. The Horowitz report, 17 violations of protocol and policy regarding the Carter Page warrant application. Thank God for Mr. Horowitz. We have found more, even more stunning violations. The House Judiciary Committee has declared war on the Trump administration every way you can, including impeaching him, but they have yet to hold a hearing with Mr. Horowitz. This committee has had hearings about Russia involvement in our election, about their methods and their means. We called Sally Yates and Clapper to tell us about their concerns about Flynn at a time when people didn't know. So I want to end with this about the Flynn matter. It is not normal, ladies and gentlemen, that the agent involved investigating a case, Mr. Barnett, felt like that there was no crime and the man gets prosecuted anyway. It's not normal for the agent in charge of investigating a case to believe that the organization was out to get a particular individual, in this case, Trump. This is not normal. The Flynn case is not normal. The people in the field wanted to drop it. They kept pushing it. They manufactured a crime against General Flynn. He was not colluding with the Russians. He had every reason in the world to be talking to Mr. Kislyak, the ambassador to Russia, because he was going to be the incoming national security advisor. It is not normal that the FBI takes a politically contrived document from a Russian agent paid for by the Democratic Party and uses it against an American citizen. That is not normal. Somebody needs to be held accountable for this. Not only is it not normal, it is incredibly dangerous. So what will we do in this committee? We will keep moving forward. I'm going to call everybody who signed the warrant application and ask them, if you knew then what you know now, would you have signed the warrant application against Carter Page? And oh, by the way, how is it possible that the people in charge seemed to know nothing about egregious abuses in one of the most important cases in the history of the FBI? Stay tuned.
There you have it. We got the end of it. That was pretty good that we got the end of that. Pretty good, Shady.
Yeah, I was watching a decent amount of it this morning, and it really is interesting to watch how the left and the right dance around the truth, man. That's all I got to say. I mean, it's like the questions that I would pose if I were sitting there on that Senate panel would be much different than the ones that Mr. Graham thought were relevant. But here nor there, the man's having hearings. We're putting this up. People are seeing it. But you really could have, in my opinion, the Republicans missed the mark a little bit today. You could have pinned Comey down a lot differently, and they didn't.
Well, and that's a great point. And so what people don't understand, like the news media, is that us, the real Donald Trump supporters that are very well educated by this right here, we need to understand this. This is Yates. I warned White House that Flynn could be blackmailed. That's an article from 2017, May 18. This is her signature. So this is from 9/7/18. Okay. And so you look at review is important. Who signed? Who signed page 380? Who signed page 389? Who signed page 390? Who signed page 391? Who signed 92? McCabe, Rosenstein, Dana Bote, whatever, Sally Yates, knowingly and used false intelligence. Think HRC paid for this fake dossier, guys. Think Steele, Barack Obama, post FBI firing intel collusion. Think DOJ and FBI classified leaks to fake news. Insert to FISA application in effort to provide new sources. Think presidential daily briefing placement by Brennan to authenticate source as credible, like the wrap-up smear, right? Think B.O. Wiseman, regular updates. Think regarding Steele, Firewall, Mueller. I declare, under penalty of perjury, that the foregoing information regarding Carter W. Page is true and correct.
Comey did admit that he wouldn't sign the FISA if he knew now what he knows. But he also stated that he doesn't think that the FBI did anything egregious or wrong. Let me explain to you again. Exculpatory evidence is evidence that would dismiss or unsubstantiate a case against a person. Okay? So that being known, meaning the evidence is in their files, and not being shared with the court that you're trying to use to get a counterintelligence investigation opened up on, that is knowingly. You had the information, it's obviously in your notes, and you didn't share it. But no one can make this connection that it was omitted intentionally, and no one is highlighting that properly. Knowingly. Yates, Rosenstein, Comey. They asked Comey today about, the one guy said that his constituents in Nebraska were concerned about the deep state, and Comey made a specific attempt to explain to him that there was no such thing, that there were all these compartments and layers. Yes, the compartments and layers are the deep state. That is the bureaucracy. That is the way that they keep all of us from being able to see the truth. And we also have to give them I'll give them a little bit of leniency, because they can only operate with information that's in the public domain. There is a lot of information that we have that isn't, being discussed at all by the media now. And so there is some latitude to give them. And, hopefully Lindsey's doing what he's supposed to be doing. But like I said, if I were up there, I'd be hitting a little harder.
Right. So this is it right here, Shady. Did you see this breaking news? This is Honorable Ray, a letter from Eyes On, Doug Collins, guys. Look at this. So this is today, the Honorable Christopher Wray, Director, FBI. Dear Director Wray, throughout your tenure as Director of the FBI, FBI, you have proven unwilling or unable to bring accountability to the upper echelon of the FBI. I am sure you are aware that the recent revelation that the FBI had knowledge, knowingly, that the Russian collusion hoax was a creation of Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign. If in your refusal to act on this knowledge, you are complicit, I urge you to do the right thing for this country and resign.
Everybody understand that, right? We don't need to go look up the word complicit.
That's right.
But that is a basic accessory.
Yeah. Complicit. You are complicit, knowingly.
And then that's what he's hiding. That's what he was like whatever string they had on him, they pulled it.
That's right. It's happening, guys.
And it was expected. I mean, we expected this to happen to different people, and we, you can only trust to the point where someone doesn't do the right thing, and then you can't trust anymore.
That's right. And Shady, what happens now? I mean, so we've got, yesterday we listened to that farce of a hearing about Fokker and all this other stuff. Didn't even talk about General Flynn, Shady. Only a few times.
That's true. There's a couple of things that are going to happen, but one, if I'm not mistaken, it looks like Sydney is getting ready to issue at least drawing up the startings of having Judge Sullivan disqualified.
Right.
No, I mean, because, and I really do, and I saw a lot of people on Twitter and stuff yesterday demanding that the president pardon Flynn. Like, you guys got to back off of that. You're driving the wrong narrative here. Mr. Flynn does not, you only get a pardon whenever you got convicted.
Right.
He's not been convicted of anything. The president could pardon him and relieve them, and this case would go away and it would happen in a snap. Absolutely 100%. But it would leave his record tarnished. We want Flynn to be safe, meaning free of a tarnished record.
That's right. And by the way, Shady, remember we showed you yesterday, guys, that the Malinowski guy is the guy that drafted the anti-QAnon bill, and that he actually protected child predators, okay, with a bill.
Yep.
And this member of Congress is facing death threats after QAnon went after him. Nobody here will do that, just so you know. The House Republican Campaign Committee falsely, how do they know it's falsely?
Because whenever they assess in the first sentence, that's driving a narrative.
Right. So we have the proof that he lobbied for. In fact, Shady, we'll go get that in a second. But okay,
bring me the sauce.
Oh my God, they knew exactly what they were doing. He said. Last month, the House Republican Campaign Committee falsely accused Democrat Rep. Tom Malinowski of lobbying to protect sexual predators. On Tuesday, followers of QAnon, a collective delusion that alleges President Donald Trump is fighting a satanic cabal of elites who abuse children. 800 children disappear every year here, Shady. Targeted him, leading to death threats. Malinowski had co-authored a bipartisan resolution last month that would have the House formally condemn QAnon, and on Tuesday he was in the subject of a Q drop. Conspiracy-filled false messages posted to message boards from a self-proclaimed U.S. government insider to their followers. The post included a screenshot of Malinowski's resolution, but it also capitalized on a press release from the National Republican Campaign Committee that falsely alleged that Malinowski lobbied to protect sexual predators. Oh, really?
Falsely, huh?
Here it is.
Well, wait a minute. August 6th, 2020.
Right. The headline is not a mistake. While he was a high-paid D.C. lobbyist, Tom Malinowski worked to ensure sex offenders who violated children would not have to join the National Sex Offender Registry, and pushed for sexual predators to receive more lenient sentences. In case you missed it, New York Dem lobbied against Sexual Offender Registry. Let's go to this. This is it right here. This is it, guys. He did, Shady.
He absolutely did.
Let's go to this. This is the Free Beacon. It goes, this is it. New York Dem lobby against sexual offender. Now, in Jersey, we are not violent. We will vote, okay? We will vote your ass out, pal. You know, we're going to vote your ass out. Shady, what do you think?
I mean, I think that the narrative that is set up is really perfect for the intersection of the truth and the BS.
So let's do this. So he says sex offenses against children, crime against children, the Hillary Clinton Foundation, page 294 in the OIG report released in 18, Shady. Look at this. They're protecting that, in my opinion, just like Ruth Bader Ginsburg was protecting that.
Yep. Like a little nest.
Yeah. No legitimate community safely jurisdiction exists to create a registry, which they warned will pull the offenders at risk of retaliation and discrimination. Crime, even a crime that involves sexual misconduct, should not be a license to run roughshod over principles of fairness and proportionality, the group wrote in a letter signed by Malinowski's colleague. Human Rights urges you to vote against their sexual offender bill. Malinowski first rose to prominence when Obama administration tapped him to become Assistant Secretary for Democracy. Remember, we are a republic. Human Rights and the labor at the State Department in 2014, 7th floor no more. The White House chose him because they liked Malinowski's reputation as a, quote, good guy lobbyist, according to the Center for Responsive Politics. But Malinowski's earlier efforts to block a widely popular effort to hold sexual predators accountable complicates his legacy as a Beltway lobbyist, Shady.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Maybe we could also give them the right to vote.
Right.
I mean, why stop there? Why stop at not making them register?
I know. It's terrible, Shady. These people are sick and they are stupid. They don't, we're only wrong until we're right, Shady. Future proves past. And we do it over and over, Shady.
We're only wrong in the mainstream media narrative, too. Right. I mean, the only place that anons are wrong is in the arena of public discussion.
That's right.
In the arena of facts and debate, we can't be beat. We can't be beat on any front. It doesn't really matter how you approach it. You can't approach it like the republic wasn't usurped. You can't approach it like they didn't take your gold. You can't approach it like the court system is set up for a fiction that you're not really representing. You can't. I mean, all of these things are true.
That's right.
The Federal Reserve is true. Like the usurpation of your Constitution is true. Hillary made a comment this morning. I had to give her a little back to you because she's saying that Donald Trump is destroying the democracy. And yes, he is. We plan to implement the republic, which was intended. The democracy has existed for thousands and thousands of years, guys.
Right.
There's been a democracy where 51% of the people shut the other 49% up since the beginning of time. That's always been there. That's right. The rules of kings, okay? Democracy. This is a republic.
And yesterday we had him, what's his name? Joe Biden, say that the Proud Boys are an anti-Semitic white supremacist group, right?
On stage. He sure did.
Do you know that the leader is not white?
I do.
This is the Proud Boys, and we're just dealing with fact. We're not, saying anything, but this is Proud Boys leader has raised basically no money for Miami congressman run. There he is right there. And his name is Enrique Tarrio. So he's a white supremacist now, Shady.
Well, I would also like to say that a lot of the Proud Boys are ex-military.
And by the way, Shady, they also said that Kyle Rittenhouse, he'd said that he was a white supremacist. So you see how long, all they do is just freaking lie, and people go, oh, okay, oh, you want me to go piss on a tree? I'll do it. You want me to go vote for Joe Biden because I don't even look for myself? I'll do it.
Shady. Oh, yeah. Oh, the McCluskeys shouldn't be defending their own house whenever people come in to try to say they're going to kill their dog and burn down their house. Nope, they shouldn't be defending them. We should arrest them, too.
Yep. But you guys are the most red-pilled audience in YouTube, and God bless you all. Let me tell you.
Everything comes down to something very, very simple. It's so simple. It is property rights. Stop everything else in your brain for 5 seconds. Property rights, period. Either you own something or the king owns it. Who is it? Do you have to answer to someone for your right to protect your property? America, no. Rest of the world, yes. Rest of the world, you have no rights. All the people from foreign countries that have come to America in the last 15 or 20 years do not have any concept of this notion that you actually own your property and that you can defend it with force, including your said person is your property. And against an assault or violence toward you, you can defend your position no matter where you are on the map in America with force to protect yourself. Yeah. That is a very, very big difference between your system and every other system on planet Earth. It's the reason that Matrixxx and I and all these beautiful patriots fight every day, because we want to protect our right to defend our person and property with force if necessary. That's the end of it. Also, our gold, our wealth, well, that goes where? On your property. What do you want to do with it? We want to protect it with force against someone who would try to steal it.
That's right.
Including a king who wants to steal it.
Now, Shady, that's right. I mean, we don't, they're even Fox, your democracy. Democracy is not what we are or what this country was supposed to be. And we would be considered traitors for going against their socialist takeover, Shady.
Correct.
People don't realize that democracy is your gateway into socialism. And I think that was said by back in the 90s, early 90s for, I think Bill Cooper said that, Shady.
Sure did.
Yeah. I don't think people understand what the word means, and they've been brainwashing us, Shady.
Incrementalism. They've been using what they call incrementalism against you for 150 years, one little small step at a time. You know, it's like you take down the weak water buffalo. The rest of the water buffalo don't care because you didn't get them.
That's right.
Till they come after you, you know, then everybody walks away from you. We're supposed to be trying to stand together.
That's right. 100%.
As a republic, as the people protecting, I stand up for any human being's right in America to speak anything they want to say to power. If you want to write it in a letter, if you want to stand on the front lawn of the governor's mansion, any place that you would like to speak your message, I support 110%.
Yeah.
But the moment you incur on another human being's right to speak or be quiet, you have violated your oath to America and the idea of America. You, by being granted such precious rights to speak, you must grant others the precious right to speak. If you speak over them instead of with them in a debate, you are going against our country. Very simple. Even if you're a Republican fighting a Democrat.
Right. Exactly.
You got to give people the space to speak.
Exactly right. Now, let's watch this really quick before we close out.
I first learned of the Steele dossier in late September of 2016.
In the wrong window. Hang on one second. Let me just bring that over here to you guys so you guys can see it. Get on over here. Here we go.
And understood that it was funded by political opposition to President Trump. Or candidate Trump. I didn't know the specifics of which part of the opposition, but I knew that it was political opposition research funded.
When did you learn that?
I think about the time I was briefed on it, so about the same time, probably third week of September.
So you were personally aware that the political opposition, whether the DNC or Hillary Clinton or whatever campaign bucket it was coming from, it was the opposing party that was funding it. You were specifically aware of it in September. Why didn't you tell the FISA court? Why did you admit that over and over and over again on applications you submitted? Didn't the court deserve to know that?
My recollection is the FISA court was alerted to the possibility that it was a politically biased reporting.
Your recollection is false. The FISA court was not told that it was funded by the DNC. That's one of the omissions that your FBI did repeatedly to the federal court. All right. Go ahead.
That's not what I just said. So,
well, what did you just say?
I said my recollection is the court was alerted that there was potential political bias in this reporting.
Oh, interesting. Huh?
Political bias is different from saying it was funded by the Hillary Clinton campaign. You just testified to this committee. You were specifically aware of that, and yet you repeatedly did not inform the court of it when you were getting an order to essentially weaponize the Democratic opposition research.
Interesting, huh?
Sure is.
Wow.
Because they're all a bunch of slithering snakes, and they're going to say anything that they can say to look like what they did was normal.
That's right. That's right.
And like I said, I don't know how high up the chain it goes, but Senator Cruz is sitting there. He knows that they spied on him.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
He knows that they opened an investigation onto him. He knows that they accessed his personal data. He knows that they downloaded his data. He knows that he was being tracked by the hammer. He knows all that stuff. But see how he keeps the conversation very centralized. I would be opening up a much larger conversation in that forum.
Right. That was me too, because we already know.
Right. I mean, it's like, why are we fluffing around with this stuff?
But I think, Shady, what we have to understand is this is the way to get it out into the public domain, right?
I agree, 110%. I'm definitely on board with that. I'm just saying, if an anon was there, it would be a much different conversation.
That's right. That's right. Oh my gosh, Shady. And I'm trying to find a video, but let's just listen to this one real quick.
These people will not hesitate to do whatever it takes to maintain their power, their control, and their wealth. They want one world, totalitarian, socialist government. They want only two classes of people, the rulers and the ruled. For those of you who keep hiding in the closet because you're afraid you're going to get on somebody's list, let me set you straight right now. There's only one list, and you're already on it. You see, if you're not one of them, you're one of us. And if you're one of us, you're on the list.
And I say that when we're, we have a lot of people on that top 200 Twitter list from Hillary Clinton. You're on it too.
Exactly right. It's like we're all on that list. And trust me, if this man doesn't get elected, you're going to be on the list quicker than you think.
That's right. So you are already on the list, Shady. Now let's take a quick look at, let me just go here, appalling. Okay, let's watch attorney, Michael Flynn's attorney from yesterday. I think she was on.
And joining us tonight is the attorney who had a nearly 6 hour
Let's just watch this a little bit, guys.
With
this is
the obviously politically
Flynn.
biased and politically corrupt federal judge, Emmett Sullivan, who has departed from all procedure of the federal courts to carry out his own initiatives. Sidney Powell is General Michael Flynn's attorney. She joins us now by phone, having just left the courtroom. Sidney, good, first of all, to have you with us. And secondly, it was quite a confrontation between you and the judge. Where do you believe the proceeding left General Flynn and his efforts to be free of this persecution that is an incredibly 4 years long?
Well, I wish I could tell you it was over, Lou, but it's not. General Flynn is now being persecuted clearly by the courts, with Judge Sullivan and Mr. Gleason, his amicus friend, having taken up the mantle of people like Peter Strzok and Andy McCabe and James Comey and Barack Obama and Mr. Biden for persecuting and investigating and wrongfully prosecuting General Flynn when there was absolutely no basis to do so, as acknowledged in the words of the agents themselves and the many documents the government has produced in the last several weeks.
During that hearing, you told the judge to his face that he had conducted himself with abject bias. What was his response?
He pretty well shut me down on those arguments. He certainly did the first time. I got more in the second time I started talking about it. And we will be filing a motion to disqualify him because the comments he made today reflect pure political ambitions in continuing the prosecution of General Flynn, and other actions since the court remanded it to him also do the same. It was absolutely appalling, Lou. It was just nothing short of stunning. I would have thought we were in a third world country where political prosecutions are commonplace.
And it is also a political corruption that has reached to the appellate court, certainly. The D.C. appellate court supporting all of this is just as contemptible in my book. You're the attorney, but I can tell you as a citizen to watch an appellate court basically embrace Emmett Sullivan and his obvious bias, his obvious prejudice against your client, a three-star general, served the country with distinction, and they have gone after him, and apparently at the behest of powerful political figures. We know some of the names. We don't know all of them. Your thoughts?
Yes, they have gone after him hammer and tong. No amount of evidence that has been produced would dissuade them. In fact, the way they dealt with that was just to simply pretend that it did not exist. It was obvious Judge Sullivan had not even read the multiple exculpatory filings that had been submitted to him. He clearly didn't know that the first plea was void because Judge Contreras had to be recused, or that he had failed to do a complete Rule 11 colloquy in the second instance. That's because he apparently hasn't read our briefs on those subjects. He's focused only on what his friend Mr. Gleason gave him to read, which elides the actual facts that require the case be dismissed.
And on we go. And your client remains caught in a hell of persecution. The Peter Strzok, his attorney today, saying that notes by you were, as he put it, doctored. What is your response to that claim?
Well, that's laughable. We produced what the government gave us. I don't know where the documents came from in their files or who might have made the notations on them if Mr. Strzok didn't. But the letter his lawyer sent to the court is an extrajudicial communication, which was wholly improper and should not be considered by Judge Sullivan for any purpose. The same is true with President Trump's tweets, which were at least themselves transparent and discussed only the facts of the case and the egregious government misconduct, whereas we have Obama and Biden secretly in the Oval Office telling the FBI to investigate and pursue the case against General Flynn when they knew from Comey's own mouth that the calls he had with Ambassador Kislyak were perfectly legitimate. This is the most egregious and appalling obstruction of justice, abuse of power, conspiracy, and everything else you can think of. And add to that John Ratcliffe's letter today to Lindsey Graham, and it's clear who was behind it. And Peter Strzok knew that she knew he was working on the case. We've got a text to that effect. It's all tying together now.
It is coming together now. I want to ask you two questions quickly. Your thoughts about John Durham. We don't know if it's true, but the reports continue that he will not be producing either charges or any kind of interim report. And most importantly, for you and for your client, what is next?
I'm appalled we have no indictments yet from Mr. Durham. As long as this has gone on and as much evidence has been apparent, there could have been some significant charges brought certainly several months ago and produce even more charges, because people like this apparently don't cooperate until they know their livelihoods are in the line of fire. And what's next is Judge Sullivan will be ruling, he said, with dispatch, whatever that means, since it hadn't happened yet. And we will be filing a motion to disqualify him within the next few days that adds from the transcript today and other things that have happened since the remand. There's no way that the D.C. Circuit should have allowed him to continue to preside over this case after he became an active litigant personally against the man whose case he was presiding over.
It's outrageous, and this kind of appalling conduct in Washington, D.C. has been, unfortunately, it's become commonplace in...
So there's the update from Sidney Powell, Shady.
Yeah, if I dropped you the little wiki in Discord there, if you grab it and show the audience real quick, please.
Okie dokie, there you are.
And I'd like for everyone to kind of just understand this right now about your system. We're talking about democracies and republics and common law and contract law. And so whenever you look at this, the idea of duress in American politics, and you relate that to under duress in a contract. In other words, everything that we're doing in our world today is a contract per commerce, per authorization of the Trading with the Enemy Act in 1917. commerce is contract. Everything in your court system is contract. Parties are contracting. Defendants are contracting with the state in an agreement or in a disagreement. Duress comes in to the idea of things that people might and might not know, or threats to people. An under duress threat would be like me basically saying to you, I'm going to harm your family unless you do X. That is a violation of contract law on both levels, whether it's a common law system or a admiralty maritime law system. If one party does not agree to the contract, then that party has the right to stop contracting. So right now what we have is General Flynn can prove that he was under duress when he made a plea deal by prosecutors and his own attorneys who were pushing him to do something that was against his best interest, unknowingly to him, that he did because his son was being threatened. Therefore, the rescission of that plea agreement from Mr. Flynn was because we now don't have the same representatives giving him the same advice, aka Sidney Powell. What she's trying to show is that he was under duress by making that plea agreement, and what the court won't let be entered into the record is that that was the case. They have literally stood in. This person that they have, Gleason, standing in, this is a person that's standing in for the DOJ, and right now you have Gleason and Sullivan as the prosecutor, and you have the DOJ and General Flynn as the defendants.
Yeah. There is no, the DOJ is now the defendant who was prosecuting Shady. Wow.
Correct. So this is the definition of a banana republic type political court, guys. This is tyranny, plain and simple. On its face, it's fruit of a poisonous tree. All the information from the Steele dossier is bogus, and General Flynn has every right to speak to Ambassador Kislyak and tell him, don't do anything weird with these fools in charge, because we got some smart people that are going to be in charge soon, please, sir, which is all he said, guys. This is real, factual evidence that should wake normal people up if you present it to them in the right way.
That's right. I love it. And let's leave this, because what we're really fighting for today and for this election for 2020, it's a very simple choice. Do you want to be socialism, communism, China, Biden? Or do you want to be America first, jobs here, police, law and order like we intended it, our treasury back to sound money, a healthcare program that the government doesn't mandate? No isms here, Shady. It's very clear. America first, Donald J. Trump, and China, Joe Biden, Shady. And I want to leave you with what's the difference. What have they been planning this? And I think you're going to enjoy this, Shady. With your final thoughts, I will play this next video. And guys, stay tuned. It's very good. It's basically explaining the liberal socialist plan back in 1997. Shady, before we play this video, it's about 5 minutes, but you guys stay tuned. You got to see it. Shady.
Man, I would just really like to say that everything is on display for you to point at. You don't need JFK Jr. You don't need any of these other slide conversations to speak with people. As a matter of fact, that's hurting what you're trying to say. I understand, we see these different things, but the truth of the matter is you have the truth. A lot of people are having a hard time understanding how to present it to someone. You have to look at the person that you're speaking with like they know nothing that you have in your mind. Right. Like everything that you say is completely brand new information, and you have to speak in a way that you would understand yourself, or that you would understand someone else giving you the information. That is the way you have to orient your mind to be able to ask someone questions that turns on their brain to get them to start coming to you for insight or for direction. Remember, you're not telling them any damn thing. What you're doing is you're trying to find an opportunity to share with them the information so that they can decide for themselves.
And drip it in a little bit and have them go look it up. Don't go full bore where you're talking so fast and you're saying stuff that, you know,
correct.
Yeah, just sit down and let's have honest conversations. Let's look up James Comey's record. Let's look up Biden. Let's sit down together and see if this claim that they're saying about Biden in Russia, Biden in China, brother Biden in Iraq. They haven't even talked about the 1.5 billion in Iraq yet.
We haven't talked about uranium going all the way around the world yet either.
Right. So they've been planning this for a long time, Shady. I think you're going to appreciate this, guys. Sit back, grab your popcorn, and let's listen to William Cooper, explain what the liberal socialist plan is. And this might help you guys. I know it helped me.
I think this will help. This is a great piece by Mr. Cooper, one of my heroes. And much love, everybody, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
It's pretty cool to speak on the same stage as this gentleman, isn't it, Shady?
Sure was. It was an absolute pleasure.
We got attacked for that. Let's watch this, guys. This will help you guys. Check it out. Don't go anywhere. Here we go.
And that's the problem with these guys. They have placed themselves in an elitist attitude to tell the rest of us what we need. And the truth is, we don't need them to do that. Okay? They haven't got the right to do that. They think they do, because they think we're just a bunch of stupid cattle. And I got to tell you, for the most part, most people prove them right all the time. Not intentionally, but because the knowledge, the truth has been withheld from the people. And that's how they manipulate people, is by withholding the truth and controlling them with the lies. Okay? Now, first I got to start off here. I got to ask you a question. What's the most important thing about this country that you can think of? And I want to see some hands and hear some answers. Everybody all at once. Freedom. Freedom. Freedom is the most important thing in the world, because socialism doesn't give you freedom. They want you to think it does. Aren't they trying to bombard you with the delusion that liberals are for freedom? Liberals are for socialism. Liberals started out being for freedom when there wasn't any. Being for freedom was liberal. Being conservative was for the power of the king. Remember? All of our founding fathers were liberals. Believe it. They were also traitors. So when somebody calls me a traitor because I'm supposedly against the government, it doesn't bother me. I'm in damn good company. Is this a democratic country? No. No. Was it ever meant to be? Never. No, never. So why do we hear all this talk about democracy all the time? It's the agenda to brainwash the American populace into accepting democracy, which is what? The first step into socialism. Why? No, because in our human failings and in our temptations, if it's one man, one vote, the majority is going to vote themselves everything, right? And if you vote yourself everything, what is that? The state owes me a job. We're going to vote that the state has to give us all a job. We're going to vote that the state is responsible for making sure that I have X number of dollars a year, so we're going to vote that there's going to be a minimum income for everybody in the country. That's socialism. Lenin, V.I. Lenin, you all know who he is? The man who founded the Soviet Union. V.I. Lenin said, democracy is indispensable to socialism. You can take a free people, make them into a democracy from whatever they were before, and they will vote themselves into slavery every single time because they are weak.
We are not weak, and we will not be deceived. The power lies with the people. You just forgot your power. Let's unite, reclaim it.
They want the benefits. They want the check from the government. They want the job from the government. They want a car from the government. They want medical care from the government. They want everything from the government. What's the fallacy in that? The government doesn't have anything to give you unless they first take it away from you. Right? Now, for somebody who works and is productive, they don't like that. That's not good, is it? Somebody, however, who is a weak victim, that's great, isn't it? Because they don't have to do anything anymore, do they? They can just sit back and be provided for. Have you noticed all across the country right now, they are creating victim classes of people? Why do you think that is? Because victims need care. Once you create a victim that needs care, you have another vote for socialism, don't you?
Pretty powerful stuff, Shady. And that's our show today. Thank you guys very much. 1,300 hours every day right here on the In the Matrix with 3 X's channel. You have to type it in the Matrix with 3 X's. Hit enter, then you'll see us on YouTube, and also in the Matrix with 3x's.com. Please support this broadcast with the links below. PayPal, Patreon, Cash App, Zelle. We got it all. And we could not do this without you, Shady. Thank you very much, sir. Here we go.
5-5. You guys have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
We're going to go. Can you guys hear us? Oh. God bless you all, guys. Thank you very much for your time and your attention. And some very amazing debate coverage. Thank you, Shady Groove. Thank you, guys. The most red-pilled audience out there in YouTube. Much, much love.